Hi, everyone. This is Pam Pally with Focus IT, and this is part 2 of our 3-part training call on the Pulse admin site. We're going to be starting this call here in just a few minutes. We want to give everyone a chance to get logged in. So we appreciate everyone joining this call, and we'll be starting here shortly. Thank you. Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully what we have to cover today won't take long, and you'll get a little bit of your time back for this afternoon. Today's call was designed to help everyone understand on the admin side how to create and edit email templates. So to get to the settings section of our Pulse application, first of all, you have to be an executive. You have to be an admin on the account. If you are set up as one, when you click on your initials over here in the top right-hand corner, you'll notice that you have an option where the other users don't for settings. When you go in under settings, it'll take you to the back end of our application and provide you with a new menu over here on the left-hand side. What we're going to talk about today is going to be email templates and rules. The email templates is what gets sent out, and the rules is the condition in which triggers them. You'll notice here under the email templates, we have a new addition. We now have the ability to do some texting through the application, and today on the call, we're going to be talking about that. So you'll get a heads up a day before we're doing the text training for the rest of our clients tomorrow. So basically, when you sign up for us and we build your Pulse site, all of our customers are given about 22 standard status emails that are delivered with the product that they can choose from to determine which emails that they would want to use and who they'd want those emails to go to. It's really important to understand a few things about the Point application to be able to go in and create email templates. One of the things that you need to know about the Point application is how to look up field ID numbers. So within Point, in case no one ever showed you, from the main screen, if you go up here and click on Utilities, you can go down to this option called Load Field ID Numbers and come over here to Borrower. When you do, the system will actually open up a blank loan, and inside that blank loan, it will provide you the field ID number for every field. So long as you know what the field ID number is, you're now in control. We're bringing approximately a little under 5,000 fields from Point over into Pulse. That sounds like we almost bring every field over. That's far from being true. A single record sometimes in the Point application can have over 30,000 fields. I know, a bit ridiculous, right? But it's actually true. So we bring about the standard a little under 5,000, and we continue to add to that as requests come in from our customers. So if you ever attempt to go to use a field and that field doesn't show as an available field, no problem at all. Email us, and we can have it added within 30 days or less and make it available to you on the site. So you need to know how to look up field ID numbers, number one. Number two, you need to understand how contacts get pulled from Point over into Pulse. Because if the contact doesn't exist, it doesn't matter whether you set up the email template correctly or not. So inside the Point application, of course, we pull over the borrower and the co-borrower. That's pretty straight up and forward. But we also, under the Track Branch Team screen, we also bring in the originator and processor from the borrower information page, as well as the underwriter, doc prep, closer, and shipper. Now, as I've told people in past training, most companies don't have an internal underwriter, doc prep, closer, or shipper, but you may have other staff internally that work with your originators and your processor that you would like to be included on status updates or internal notifications or anything along those lines. And the best way to handle that as a company is to come together and say, okay, the doc prep field is going to be used for the loan officer assistant. The closer field is used for the junior processor. Maybe the underwriter becomes your transaction coordinator or your setup person or whatever it might be. We, on our end, doesn't really matter who you use the fields for, so long as you know and you select them appropriately. What we have to do on our end is for any user that is selected in these 6 fields must have a Pulse account. Now, if they're only going to be a recipient of an email, they're not required necessarily to have a paid Pulse account depending on the circumstances, which we can discuss at a later date, but they do have to have a Pulse account. Okay. The other area that we do under the Track Agent List screen is we pull in all of the agents. Now, we start all the way at the bottom below the flood in the school, and we start with these first two custom fields. From these two custom fields all the way to the top, we pull in every agent minus the seller. Okay. Now, for an agent to pull from point to Pulse, we must have a contact, we must have a company name, and we must have an email address. So long as those three required fields are filled in, that contact will pull from point over into Pulse. So we have our contacts pulled over, so now we're ready to set up our email templates. Let's walk through an existing one. Let's talk about one that's quite commonly used, and it's our application completed email. Of course, we have the ability up here to create a new one. You can disable an email, and you'll find any that you selected not to use as a company has already been disabled on your behalf. You have the ability to enable one if you choose to now use it. Of course, if you create something and you don't wish to keep it, you're welcome to delete it, and you're more than welcome to delete the ones that we bring in by default. But if you do delete them, don't ask me to restore them. It's not possible. They have to be built from scratch again. And the update works the same. I think, to me, it's an extra mouse click. That's unnecessary, to be honest. And then, of course, clone represents copy. So basically, I'm simply going to click on the email template name and have the email open. When the email opens, of course, you need to give the email template a name. And I tell my customers, make sure that it's very descriptive. Okay, make sure that when you see the name of the email template, you know what the email is regarding. You have the ability to choose between different email skins, which we'll discuss here in just a few minutes. You have your standard buttons for saving. Again, clone is copy, delete, and my favorite is preview, which we'll come back in just a few minutes. Of course, we have the enable box up here if you wish to enable or disable from the setup page. Down here, most importantly, is we have the ability to create a subject line. Now, you'll notice here in this subject line, everyone, that most people, before they're required to open an email, they want to know what the email is regarding. Most people look at that in their inbox. So we want to make sure that within the inbox, when it's displaying the incoming email, that it lets the recipient know what it's regarding. So we definitely want to include in the subject line what it's regarding, and in this case, application completed. We also want to let them know who it's regarding, and in this case, we added the additional merge tags for the borrower's first name, the borrower's last name, and the subject property address. Now, I'm going to go up here for the sake of this call so that we don't have to do a lot of bouncing back and forth, and I'm going to open up a second screen. And I want to show you how easy it is to add to this subject bar here. Basically, to add to the subject bar, I simply cheat. Yeah, I take shortcuts. They work great. And the best way to do that is simply click on Create. Come over here to this blank email and click on Body. Once you click on Body, build here the merge tags that you want to add to your subject line. I would come over here and click the down arrow. I would come down and I would choose the borrower's name. Sorry about that. I'm going to apologize for that. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to choose the borrower's name. I thought I had it on that list. I'm going to apologize. Anyways, what I did here is I inserted the field ID number. So the field ID number is, which we already talked about, everyone, from the point system. On the borrower information page, the borrower's first name field ID is 100. The last name is field ID is 101. I'd come over here and insert the borrower's first name and enter 100. And I'd simply select that and insert it. Hit my space, come over here and insert field 150, 101, and I choose the borrower's last name and insert that. Then I could simply put a space with a slash, and then I could come over here, and in this particular case, I chose field 33, which is the borrower's subject, property street address, and I would simply insert that. This is pulling the state, but I wanted the street, but you get the idea. Once I insert those and I have the merge tags that I want, I simply highlight them and I copy them. Then all I have to do is come back here and simply paste them into the subject line bar. So you can have any of the approximate 5,000 fields we pull from Point over into Pulse added to the subject line. Of course, you want to make sure that you don't overload it. And I believe there are some limits. I had someone try to insert 5 or 6 merge tags, and it worked fine. Someone tried to insert 8 or 9, and it didn't work out quite well. So basically what we have here is a standard 3 fields inserted, but you could also, if you wish to, you could add the file name. You could grab the merge tags from here. You could come paste them into a window, add a new backslash, and you could simply come over here and you could pick up the file name, and you could insert that and make that part of your subject line. Grab it from there and simply come back here and paste it in. So that's the easiest way to acquire those inserts. You can type them in by hand if you wish to do so. It works the same way. But to me, when you type them in by hand, you're going to miss one of these @ signs or one of these brackets, or the spacing's going to be off. And personally, I'm not that great of a typer. So it's much easier for me to go ahead and let the system build that for me inside of a blank email template, copy and paste in what I want here. So again, you can add in it whatever you'd like. Down here, when you're choosing who the email comes from, the standard is usually the loan officer or the processor, but you do have the ability to pick the closer, the doc prep, the shipper, or the underwriter. We do have 2 additional fields within the Pulse application that was added a long time ago. We have a junior processor and a loan officer assistant. These can be selected and they can be chosen as senders of an email, but these can only be added within our Pulse application. As everyone well knows on the call today, that you can't, there is no place within Point to add a junior processor or a loan officer assistant. That's the reason why, so that everyone is doing things consistently and nothing gets missed. That is why I usually recommend to my customers to take advantage of that branch team screen and use these additional fields that you're not using. You can build those into the drop-down list, pull them in from your templates to assign which one's going to be used for what. And if you need help doing that, reach out. We're more than happy to go over that with you. So you choose who it's coming from, and then most importantly, you come down here and you choose who it's going to. Now, as I showed you in the Point application, we have a lot of contacts that we pull from Point over into Pulse. So as I scroll down, you'll see that there's a lot of different ones to choose from. You can come in and you can select as few or as many as you want. And also, you have the ability to actually hard code an email address up here. If you want the email to be copied to someone internally, that's not necessarily assigned to the loan. So if you have a branch manager that wants to be copied on all the emails, or an owner wants to, or someone in a management position, or maybe you don't want to add your transaction coordinator to each one of the emails, but you want them copied on it, you can simply hard code their email address here, and they would receive a copy no matter what. You also have the ability to add those same lists to be CC'd on an email as well as to be BCC'd on an email. What works nicely is you can also, through the CC and the BCC, you can add a hard-coded email address. So if you wanted to hard-code a couple different email addresses, just be a little creative, think outside the system, hard-code one over here under your 2, and then add an additional one under CC or BCC. I overlooked one thing on the setup screen here, and I do apologize. You also have the ability over here to leave this set as the default to select a role. And basically over here, you actually can hard code an email address and the name of the person who you want to be the sender of the email. If you want the emails to come out from a generic account or a general mailbox within your company, you do have the ability to set them up accordingly for that also. So they don't necessarily have to come from the loan officer or the processor or another member that's tied as a contact to that loan. You can simply come in and you can enter a default email address. Most of my customers who use this will use a standard do not reply email address, and the sender name is usually the company name, and it works quite well for them. Personally, because of the status emails and the way they go out, I like to see them come from at least the loan officer and the processor, so that the ones especially going to the borrowers and the realtors can reply back, and you're going to receive that comment back from them. So again, it's really very easy to set up this basic general tab, and it's pretty straightforward. on the setup. And of course, you also have the ability to come in, and if you've added someone and you no longer want them to be included, you can simply come in and remove them. You can come in and add additional ones each time you want to, simply by checking the box, by clicking on Add, selecting the contact, and clicking on Add here, and they will simply add them to the list. That functionality works under all three boxes. So with that said, let's talk about the body of the email. The body of the emails, everyone, is a little different. We do have a user interface up here that does allow you to do some things within the body, but what you do need to understand is the actual emails themselves are generated in what's called an HTML code, which is standard for websites and for the industry and generating emails via sent to website that are done outside of an application like Outlook or one of those. So with that in mind, if you are proficient in HTML, you could probably be much more creative in creating emails in the system than I am. But basically, you do have the ability to come in and do custom emails or edit existing emails that are out there. If you don't like the picture that we've included, you're welcome to simply select it and delete it. You won't hurt my feelings. If you want to change some of the wording or you want to add some additional wording, you can feel free to do that. But what you'll notice here is when you're looking at the body of this email, you're only seeing part of the email. This right here is considered the body. This is the actual insert for the body of the email. But as your emails go out, you know there's a lot more to them than just the body. What do I mean by that? If we come up here and we click on preview, you'll notice that in the background, we're adding to the body of that email a company logo. We're adding a loan detail section. We're adding a loan progress section, a loan contact section, and a nice footer at the bottom. These pull in from what we call the email skin. And the email skin is what's chosen up here, and we're going to talk about that in just a couple minutes. So for everyone who's a little familiar with the system and wanting to know what happened to the rest of the email, it's out there. It's just not contained in this part of it. We wanted to make it very simple for everyone to be able to come in and make some minor changes to the body of the email and still have a basic format to your emails that go out to all of your borrowers and your realtors and other contacts on a file. So within the body of the email, again, if you're familiar with HTML code, you can switch to the source side, copy and paste your code in here, go back to the display side and see the results of it. You have the ability to come in and do some basic things. You can come down and you can select certain wording, and you can make it bold, you can italicize it, you can underline it. You have the ability to choose those. You can indent, you can remove indents, you can add bullet points if you want by numbers or bullet points. You can center things, or you can left or right justify things. One of the icons that I need to let everyone know that works in our Pulse marketing site and does not yet work on our Pulse side, and I apologize, it is on the to-do list, is the images. When you come in and you click on images, this upload tab exists here because they're using the same code from our marketing system to our Pulse system, but the rest of what was built in Pulse marketing hasn't been built behind the scenes in Pulse. The one thing that you can't do, and everyone on the call knows that I'm usually very brutally honest of what you can and can't do, is you cannot upload an image. So if you wish to change out an image in the system, if you wish to use a different picture or you're going to build a custom email yourself and you wish to add an image, not a problem at all. Simply email me that image and we will host it for you. And what I will do is I will send back a URL that gives you access to display that image. So you would simply use your merge tag icon, and in the URL here, you would simply paste in the URL box here, you would paste the URL that I would send you where we are hosting that image for you via our website, so that that image would always display on the email no matter who's the recipient of it and how they display that email. It's being pulled down from our website and available to them. So you can't upload your own images, but we are more than happy to host them for you and make that available to you. So I have customers that send me images on a daily basis. I simply host those images and send them back to URL links, and it works quite nicely for them. It's a little bit of an additional step for you, and I do apologize for that. Eventually that won't be necessary, but for now it is a great workaround. You can put tables in your when you're creating an email template, if you want to do a table and to control the layout of it. There's lots of different things that you can do. You can change your font type. You can change your font size. You can choose your font color. You can choose your background color. It's pretty straightforward. Take some time. Create a new email template. Play around with the different functionalities on the buttons and stuff. Always remember, one of my favorites is the undo. I love the undo button because I'll be doing something and I'll go, I didn't mean to do that. Simply click undo and it does a great job. But also understand, as you're building these email templates or you're editing them, all of the changes or the inserts that you're making do not become part of the permanent record until you remember to come up here and click the save button. Once you click the save button, it will save whatever you've entered here, and then, of course, when you go back in, it will be there. So if you're building one from scratch, take a couple minutes about halfway through it and remember to save. If anyone's built some extensive Excel spreadsheets, I'm sure once in your lifetime you've experienced a loss of all of that information because your system crashed or something happened and you neglected to click on that save button. And I would hate to see that happen to anyone on the call. So be sure to remember to click that save button. Okay, everyone? And of course, you can also attach records, or you can attach, make attachments to the emails. The attachments are what we call static, meaning that you can't insert merge tags. It's not going to pull data from point. You can't tell it to look for a certain place on your server to pull the attachment in or anything like that. So you're very limited on what you can do on attachments. You could attach a list of contacts. You could attach a privacy policy notice if you wanted it included on your emails. You could attach, like one of our customers did here, they actually attached the VCS file for their contact information, so that when the recipient receives the email, they can click on the attachment and add that contact information directly to their contacts inside whatever email system they're using for their emails and storing their contacts. So there are a few things that you can do with it, but it is very extremely limited. Most importantly, when you're building the email templates, is tying them to the email skin. So let's talk about the email skin for a moment. I'm going to exit out of this, and I'm going to come over here to our next tab. Now, we do deliver 2 company skins with our emails. The first company skin is the one everyone's really used to seeing. And on that skin, we go ahead and when we're setting up your site, we bring in your logo. And then, of course, we run your logo through a color scheme analyzer so that we can pick up the colors in your logos, because we like to change your banners to match the colors of your logo. And if you're one of our customers that has had, that we've had the privilege of having with us for a long time, and we weren't doing this back when we set up your site, and you'd like to see the banners on your emails going out changed to match the colors in your logo, shoot me an email and let me know. I would love to go in and do that for you. Of course, this is where we insert the body of that email. So this is where it's pulling in that image and whatever the body of that email says. And then, of course, this is where it's pulling in the loan details section, the loan progress status section, the contact, and the information below. What you're going to notice here is the same thing that you noticed when we were working on the subject line, okay? When you're working on the subject line, there's no way, there's no button to insert merge tags. It's the same thing on the email skin. You'll notice that we have merge tags that are entered out there, but there's no way to click on this particular screen to select from the merge tags like you can do that when you're actually building an email. From within the body, I have the ability to choose from Pulse merge tags here. I can select those and insert them, as well as I can type in the field ID numbers, and I can select them from the Pulse database. So you're going to use the same concept that we use to create the subject line. You're going to use that same concept when you're actually building an email skin. So if you wish to go in and add additional fields to your email skin, if you wish to change where the skin's pulling the merge tags from, all you need to do is find out what that merge tag is, display it in a blank one, right-click copy, simply go back and paste it in. That is the easiest and the most simplest way to build this. Well, the second to the most easiest way and simple way to build it. The easiest way to build it is if you want changes made to the email skin, just mock up one that you have and send it to us, and we're more than happy to do it for you. But from this screen, you can still come in. You can change the titles. Maybe you don't want submitted to underwriting. Maybe you simply want it to say submitted. Maybe you don't want it to say conditional loan approval, you want it to say approval. Whatever it might be, you can come in and you can change any of the labels on that. We have some of our customers that use our application that don't have a processor, so we remove the processor. Maybe later on you've hired a processor, maybe you want to add the processor contact information back again. A lot of our customers are changing their different social media sites that they work with. You have the ability to come in and add those and remove them. If you remove them and you want to put them back, simply email me and I'm happy to send you the link to the images so that you can insert the URL to that particular social media site. And again, the functionality of your little toolbar that you have up here works the same here as it does in the body of the email. There's really not much difference. The other email skin that we deliver with the system is a new design to a skin that was done here at the company where it brings your company logo at the top. Again, it's inserting the body of the email, but instead of having those distinct sections like we had before, they've changed it up a little bit, and we now have our loan detail section, our loan progress section, our contact section, and a little different look to the footer that we have at the bottom bearing the company information. So this one's just a little bit of a different look, but again, you're not limited to just the 2 skins that we provide to you. You can have as many skins as you want. Every email that you send out can have a different skin if that's what you choose to. You're not limited to the number of emails and you're not limited to the number of skins. We also try to, when our customers want to use it, create what I call a company skin where it's kind of neutral. Basically, it brings in the company logo and it inserts the body of the email. And of course, we want to make sure that the contact information is there in the footer at the bottom. Some of my customers change this up and maybe they want the loan detail information and they don't necessarily want the contact information, but they do still want the footer at the bottom. So again, we can take that skin and we can chop it up any way that works best for you and to have it available to be able to send out. This one here is one that we were working on. And basically, this one is based on the new format, and it was designed, they were starting to work on this as a weekly status report. We have a few of our customers that wanted to start sending out a weekly status report to their borrowers and the realtors instead of sending them out an email each time the loan was changing statuses. So they didn't want an email to go out when it went from submitted to approved or from approved to clear to close. They notify their borrowers and the realtors that you'll receive an update on your file every Tuesday, every Friday, whatever it might be, and they wanted to send these out. Again, we try to be as accommodating for our customers as we can. So based on that, we had to think a little outside the box. So basically how we work this is we told our customers inside Point, choose a field on your track status screen. And from your track status screen, enter the first date that you would want that weekly report to go out. And then what we do is we use that date for the weekly report and we base the trigger off of that so that it triggers every week after that. Every 7 days, it would, from the date of that, the date entered under whatever fields you chose, would trigger and send out that weekly report. So we do have a way for our customers who would prefer to send something on a weekly basis versus as the status changes, we do have a way to accommodate you on that. We do have a sample of a weekly report, which is basically very similar to what the skin looks like that goes out for the status change, except it's not specific to a status change, it's more generic. Okay, that is a lot to cover in a short period of time. What I want to make sure that everyone understands on the email side is emails aren't just for the purpose of sending a status email to a borrower or to a realtor. You need to think outside the box. Emails can be used to notify individuals within your company when certain things are happening. Like, for instance, I was challenged a few years ago by one of my customers that said, Pam, I have some old-time loan officers, and they want to have reminders emailed to them on a file, but they don't want to have to log into Pulse to set up a task reminder or anything like that. They want to be able to do something right from within the Point system. So if they were in Point and they were working inside of a lead and they wanted to set themselves a reminder, how could you work with fields inside Point to trigger and send out that email reminder? And I said, give me about 72 hours. Let me take a look and see what I can come up with. Well, everyone knows inside every Point file, there's this wonderful button on the borrower information page at the bottom called Contact Info. And in contact info, you have these three wonderful boxes for contact date. You have this box for a memo, as well as this comment box below. So I said, great, let's use this. If you wanted a reminder on Friday for this loan, you could put Friday's date in. You could put a reminder over here that says, call borrower. You could put something as simple as regarding income, or whatever it might be. You could put notes down here to remind yourself why you want to call them regarding their income, because maybe they're self-employed. Okay, so maybe you put down a note, self-employed, whatever that might be. You put your notes there, you save this record, and you save the file and you exit and leave the record. That information syncs from Point over into Pulse. So Pulse is monitoring that. And what we did is we created a very simple email that says just a friendly reminder, and I created one for field 1, one for field 2, and one for field 3. And basically the reminder goes from the loan officer to the loan officer. It says just a friendly reminder regarding this file, and I did something as simple as put a little postum for a reminder, and in here I put the contact date, which is the date that you entered for the reminder. I put the notes that you put in the memo section. I put any comments that you made, and then I gave you the basic information for that borrower, their name, the subject property, their email address, their phone number. But of course, I could add any of the 5,000 fields from Point over into Pulse into this email reminder. You don't have to use mine, or you can use mine and add additional to it. But the point of it is that I was able to, within Pulse and Point, thinking a little bit outside the box, and I want to get everyone's creative juices going, I was able to allow someone to trigger an email reminder from within Point without leaving that file. They didn't have to go anywhere else. All they had to do is within that file, they just had to go to the contact info screen, enter the date in which they want the reminder. They can enter more than one. I have some customers that say the first one is to set a reminder for the loan officer, the second one's programmed for the processor. So if the processor wants to set themselves an email reminder, they would put it here, they would have their memo here, and then of course it may be a combination with comments down here, but this is a decent memo pad too. And then basically all that you do is the second email for the second one wouldn't come from the loan officer, it would come from the processor, and it wouldn't go to the loan officer. In this case, it would actually go to the processor. So basically, this reminder would trigger, and it would go from the processor to the processor, and basically it's going to contain the exact same information. But it's going to pull that information from field number 2, not field number 1, which would be allocated for the loan officer. So as you can see, you can think a little outside the box, and this is a great way to set that email reminder. Let's go a few steps further than that. Let's talk about being able to stay on top of a file. Okay, come on. For loan officers, how many times does a file slip through the cracks? How many times do you forget to follow up on one? Maybe you didn't set yourself an email reminder. How about having our system simply remind you for you? How about having the system send out something like the prospect date is 30 days old? How about if you got an email reminder that went from the loan officer to the loan officer saying that the prospect date is 30 days old? The reminder simply said that your prospect date is 30 days old and the application date is still missing. Do you need to follow up with this client? And then we provide you with the client information. How about if we told the system to monitor in the background, and if the prospect date is 30 days old and the application box hasn't been checked, trigger and send out this email reminder to the loan officer that they need to follow up? Let's go one step further. How about rate locks? How many times do you get right up on a rate lock or the day of a rate lock expired and the loan isn't ready to close yet? It's better to know ahead of time. So how about getting an email reminder the day before or a few days before that rate lock's getting ready to expire for you to make sure that that loan's on target to close before you lose your rate lock? If not, you want to go in for that extension. It's much easier to get an extension than to lose the lock altogether. So as you can see, there's a lot of really cool, friendly reminders you can do on the loan officer side as well as the processor side. How many times has the processor submitted a loan to underwriting and forgot to follow up on it? How about a reminder that the loan was submitted 2 days ago and there's no approval yet? And we just send out a little reminder to do that. All you have to do is create those basic email templates, and then they're all controlled by our rule engine. And the rule engine works very simple. Basically, it's a set of conditional logic. That's all it is. You go in and we'll take a look at send to processing. Of course, you give the rule a name and you want to be descriptive on it. You come down here and you choose the template you want to use, in this case, sent to processing, and you tell it what the condition is. What condition down here needs to equal true for it to trigger and send out this email? Well, in this case, we're telling it if the sent to processing field 4995, and again, I know I keep harping on this, but just so that you understand and you can look them up yourselves, okay? If we go to utilities, load field ID numbers, bar, we go to track status, we go to sent to processing, the date field is 4995. Okay, so if field 4995 equals today's date, we want you to trigger and send out the sent to email reminder. Okay, as simple as that. How about the reminder to trigger some of the more complicated ones? How about the just a friendly reminder one? This one here is set up to send out the friendly reminder, that email, and we're simply saying the next contact date, field 6200, if it equals today's date, send out that reminder. And of course, we got that by simply looking up the field ID number. Once we know what the field ID number is, we're able to trigger it and send it out. You can do some more complicated reminders. Let's talk about a friendly reminder for your 30-day prospect. Okay, this one's a little different. Okay, you'll notice here that this friendly reminder is set to go out to send out the 30-day reminder, but there's not one condition. In this case, we needed to put multiple conditions. And you can do multiples. You can do ands, you can do ands or ors. You can do multiple ands. You can do some really cool things with the system. So basically, on this particular one, I told it to look at the prospect date, which is field 4993. And I wanted to know if that date was 30 days old. And to do that, I used this wonderful condition called today difference. I had them create this condition for me because for me, it's very logical. I'm hoping it is for you too. I'm telling the system to take today, and whatever today's date is, I'm telling it to either subtract the number over here, or if it was a positive number, I'm telling it to add it. Okay? So basically, I'm telling it to take today's date, all right, which is the 15th. So take May 15th, subtract 30 days, and once you come up with that new date, go out there and see if there's any loans, any leads out there that have that date under field 4993. Once you see, or once you've identified all of those leads that have that, now I want you to go look at field 6020, and I want you to verify that the loan application date box is blank, that they haven't checked the box that they've made application. If it doesn't equal blank, then immediately this condition is no longer true, it's false, and it means it won't trigger and send out the email. So you don't have to go in and check and uncheck anything. The system polices itself, and it's going to do it for you. So it's going to look to say, okay, is there an application date? Has the loan been denied, or has the loan been canceled? If there's no application date, it hasn't been denied, it hasn't been canceled, then it's still a valid lead, and I need to remind the loan officer that they want to follow up on it. So if all four of these conditions are all true, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 are all true, and it's 30 days past today's date, and all of these fields equal blank, send this reminder to the loan officer. Now, when it comes into creating the conditions and stuff, it can be a bit challenging. That's not a problem. We're here to help our customers in any way we can. So when you get in to start to write these rules, reach out to us and let us help on the first few ones that you do. And when you go in to create a rule the first time, I need to change the wording on this, but I want you to select loan. And loan really needs to say test mode. And I'm going to have that change very shortly, because all you're doing is you're putting this in a test mode environment, meaning that even if you accidentally enable it, so long as it's set to loan, it's not going to trigger and go out. We want to make sure that the conditional logic you have is correct before you actually enable that rule and start sending it out. We definitely don't want you to be put into an embarrassing situation where an email triggers incorrectly and it goes out on your entire database when you didn't want it to. I've done it, we've all done it, but we try to make sure that it doesn't. So by choosing the loan status, it will not trigger it. So once you're ready, then you can come in and move it to the company status, and you can enable it and have it start going out and make some really great impressions with your users, because you're now helping them stay on top of their files and stay on top of their loans. Before we get into talking about the column over here, let's go back and let's talk about the texting feature. Okay, so we've added the ability now to send statuses in the form of a text. Okay, so we've added a new tab here called Texting Templates. Okay, basically you can come in and you can create a template, and I've created one here for our call today called text application completed. I inserted the word text in front of it because I already have an email template called application completed, and if by chance they end up in the same list, I want to be able to make sure that I can distinguish between the two. So I like the idea of entering the word text in front of it. Okay, so I've created this texting template. You'll notice that there's no skin to choose from here. You'll notice down here that we only have two tabs. We have a general tab, and the general tab simply is going to allow you to choose what recipient you want this text to go to. And of course, if you are familiar with Pulse and you've gone and you've looked at a loan, you will notice on all of the loans, when you first open them, we have that wonderful contact section. And in that contact section, we pull in the contact's mobile, work, and home number if they were provided. Okay, so this particular situation is going to be looking at their mobile numbers. So if you entered a mobile number and the mobile number exists and you select that contact, then they're going to receive this text that you're sending out. Okay, if you didn't insert a mobile number, just like if you didn't insert an email address, they're not going to get it. It's really as simple as that. And of course, there's no CCs or BCCs on texts. Okay, so you're going to choose who you want it to go to. For status emails like this, for like application completed, you'd send it to the borrower and the co-borrower, because when they receive this and it says, good news, your loan application has been completed and we're ready to move forward with your loan, they're going to know what it's regarding, okay? Because they're the borrower and the co-borrower on the loan. They get this text that's going to make sense to them, okay? That's pretty straightforward. It's easy. But what if you were to send this text and you were to come over here under the general tab and you were to include the realtors? What if you were to send this to the REB buyer and the REB seller, and you were to send them a text that said something like this? Is this going to mean anything to them? It's not going to. Why? Because how many deals are they working on? You can't insert merge tags in a text. So it's not telling them, there's no subject line. It's not telling them the borrower's first and last name. It's not telling them a file name. It's not telling them a property address. Okay? If they were to receive a text like this, it wouldn't work. All right? Does it mean that you can't send a text to your realtors? Of course, you can send a text to your realtor. How many times have you wished that you could text the realtors to check their email? Okay? How about if we created an application completed text, but we did it a little differently? How about if we came up here and we clicked on created and we did a text for application completed and we set this one up for the realtors? Okay, I come down here and I select my realtors and I add them. But over here, I simply say something along the lines of maybe application completed, see email. Something as simple as that, okay? They get a text. The text simply says application completed, see email. You've texted them and alerted them that they need to check their email. You could do something like that. It's not perfect, but it does actually prompt them to go in and to check their email to see the current status of where that loan is moved to, okay? It works very well for your borrowers and your co-borrowers at this point, but for the realtors, you just have to think a little bit outside the box. But of course, that also works with everyone else, any of the other contacts on it. I'm telling my customers, if you're sending text, always still follow up with your email templates, okay? Don't send a text and not follow up with the email templates. Engage both of them. Let it come to a text to their phone as well as an email. Sometimes people check their text, sometimes people check their emails. If we send it both ways, you can always be guaranteed they're going to get the notification. Now, when text is triggered to go out, they're going to be recorded inside your file just the same as all of the others transactions that are recorded. So within the file, if you go and you open your file and you go to your activities and you check your activities, they're going to be recorded here. And this was a sample that I sent. And there are also, the texts are going to have this little preview text option here. You'll be able to click on it and you'll be able to see that what numbers the text went to, the date it was sent, whether it was successful, and what the message was in the text. And here you can see that the text can have numbers or characters or different things like that. You also have the ability, because I do have customers that don't use the rule engine to send out their status emails. They want to be able to send the statuses on manually when they're ready for them to go. That's no problem at all. We've actually added in here the ability to send a status text, and we allow you to choose a text to be able to send from here. You can't do a custom text yet through the system. No, that's not possible. That's in phase 2. We're going to get there. But for this phase, you do have the ability to manually trigger the text. And of course, that option, wherever you could trigger an email, you can trigger a text, meaning you have the ability from the pipeline view to also be able to go, excuse me, everyone, and select a loan. And if you were to come up here, sorry about that, if you were to come over here and you were to right click and you were to come down, you still have the option here to click on send email or text, and you can do it from here. So you can do it as well as inside the loan, as well as you can do it from your pipeline view. And of course, any text sent manually, or if they're sent by the rule engine, they're going to be triggered and they're going to be sent out. And the only difference triggering a text to come from the rule engine versus having an email is simply what column you will notice when you're looking at your rules. If you select an email template, it will show here. If you select a text, it will show here. Remember I said I like putting the word text in front of my texting template so I can identify them very quickly? Well, that's the reason why. If I come in here, this is the template number 1. If I was to scroll down, I would be able to see all my texts together down here, and I'd be able to choose the one that I want. Once I choose it and save it, instead of it appearing over here in this column, it's going to show over here just like it does in the sample down here. Okay, so if you're going to get into texting, go in and set up the text, set up the different texts for the different statuses. You can set up the rules to trigger and have them go out, but I do recommend leave your email templates in place also. I highly recommend to follow up to not only send your email template for your different stages as the loan moves through the system, but also send the text. It'll do great for your borrowers and your co-borrowers. You can send a simple reminder to the realtor to check their email if they've been patiently waiting for an update from you. So there are ways to make it work for all the other contacts on the file, but it will do a beautiful job for you for the borrowers and for your borrowers and co-borrowers. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to take a deep breath here for a moment, everyone, and let me go check and see if anyone has any questions. The first question is, don't forget that an image must be hosted by Pulse in order for it to show in the email. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, and I think we did cover that. But again, if you want to insert an image in an email skin, in either an email skin or an email body, you can definitely insert those images. You just can't upload them yourself. You simply send them to us, and we'll host them for you and send you back the link to use. The next question is when you put in for the email reminder and add the contact date, etc., does the information stay in permanently, or does it clear out once the reminder date is passed? No, it does stay in permanently. But what's nice about that is once you've received that reminder and you go into the contact screen, once this has already been completed, you can actually come over here and click Done to clear it, and then number 2 moves up into the number 1 spot. If you do that, and when you do click Done, it actually records this information to your conversation log, so you never really lose the history of it. So it does stay there, but you can also clear it if you wish to do so. For texting, do we need to have the client consent, maybe through a form or in order to send them? Not to my knowledge. It's a good question. Never really thought about it. As a courtesy, the loan officers may ask the borrowers and co-borrowers for their consent to send them a text, but if they're providing you with their mobile number, I don't think to them it's going to matter whether they receive a call on their mobile or whether they receive a text on their mobile. I think if they're providing you with their mobile number, they're giving you access to that, whether it's in the form of a phone call or a text. I don't think it really should matter. What number does the text come from? It's a generic number through Amazon. We're using the Amazon service to send the text, so it is going to come into them as a digital number for this first release that we're doing. Later on, we're going to look deeper into the Amazon services to see if there's any other features we can engage at this time to change the sender of the text, but for now, it will come from a digital number. Great. Okay, I think we've covered the questions that everyone's posted. I know I covered a lot on this call, everyone. We're real excited about this first release for Texas, being able to send text emails out. This has been a big request from our customers to be able to text the borrowers and the co-borrowers notifications when the loan is moving through the system versus sending them emails. So we're really excited. This is our first release. We have 3 phases for texting. There'll be a second phase, which will accommodate some additional features, and then the third phase will allow you to send text messages through our Pulse marketing system, also to go along with the Pulse marketing emails. So we'll have 2 additional phases to this feature coming out between now and the end of the year, and we will keep you updated on when those features become available. Someone said, so if the number is generic, does it reply back to whom? When they go to click reply, it comes back and tells them that the number that it's coming from, they're unable to reply to. So it will warn them that if they try to reply back to the text, it won't be received. So they are notified to that fact. They also have the ability, if they don't want to receive the text, they do have the ability to issue the stop command, just like they can on any other texts that they receive to their phones. Will it be the same Amazon? Will it be the same Amazon digital number on all texts or switch text to text? As far as I know at this point, the way that it's set up, it's coming from the same digital number, and they're still working on making some enhancements to that. So if the number is generic, okay, I answered that. I might have missed, but how is an email triggered to be sent? Oh, no problem. An email is triggered to be sent through the rule engine. So the rule engine allows you to come in and set the conditional logic to trigger the email or to trigger the text. So they're all done through the rule engine. You simply come in and tell it what point field you want it to look for to trigger the text. So in this case here, the send to processing is monitoring field 4995. When field 4995 equals today's date, it's triggering and sending this out. This happens to be an email, but if I wanted it to send a text, I could choose a text instead. Any other questions that I can answer or any other topics? We have 5 minutes left on the call, and I'm happy to share any additional information with anyone. Okay, everyone. I appreciate you taking time out of your day and joining this call. I look forward to our call next week, and that call will be regarding how to create a checklist, which is an electronic to-do list, and how that works within the system. Okay, everyone, thank you so much. Have a great day. And the last question is, please send the recording again. That's no problem at all. I will send it out to everyone who registered for the call. And you should have it in your inbox by tomorrow morning. All right, everyone. Thank you again and have a great day. Bye-bye.